Welcome back to Learn with Chris. I'm Chris. So this will be our 5th video for a word a day. And our word for today is arbitrary. Arbitrary. Another Latin derived word, arbitrarius, I think is how you pronounce it, which means depending on the will or decision of a judge. So the word arbiter means judge. And we have another word, arbitration, which again is related to judging or giving a judgment. But what's different about arbitrary, even though the root word means judge, it isn't based on the judgments a person makes if they're being arbitrary. It isn't based on the rules or the law or any kind of like guidelines. Instead, arbitrary means the decisions you make are based on your random choice or personal feelings. So that's what makes arbitrary and maybe a confusing word, because it has the word arbiter in it, which means judgment or to judge. But it isn't judging based on rules, laws, or guidelines. Instead, it's based on randomness, personal whim, or personal choice. And because a judgment is random, it can be unfair, it can be unpredictable, and people often would get either confused as to why did they make that decision. So that's the definition of arbitrary. It's choices based randomly or on personal whim instead of on reasons or guidelines. So if you decide something, but your reason for deciding it is just completely random, then we would call that an arbitrary choice or an arbitrary decision. So we have some other forms for this, arbitrarily as an adverb and arbitrariness as a noun. So some example sentences. The decision to allocate funds seemed arbitrary with no clear rationale behind the choices. So an arbitrary decision. They didn't understand, like, why did they allocate this money here and this money here? It just seemed completely random. So it was arbitrary. Another example, rules on dress code were applied arbitrarily, causing confusion among the staff. So the rules for the dress code didn't make any sense because it wasn't based on rules or guidelines, it was just random. So that people got confused because it didn't make any sense. And our last example is the arbitrariness of the selection process led to complaints from many participants. So again, if you're choosing people in some process, but you just have an arbitrary way to do it, just random, people think it's unfair and they're going to complain. Okay, so some common collocations for arbitrary: arbitrary decisions, arbitrary rule, arbitrarily decide, and arbitrarily applied. So all of these relate to arbitrary. Now, we don't have any phrasal verbs for arbitrary, but we do have an idiom called at someone's discretion, kind of like up to you. You decide at your own discretion. And this is based, again, the decision is at your own judgment, it's at your own feelings, not based on any fixed guideline, so it is up to my discretion, which is arbitrary. Okay, and lastly are antonyms and synonyms. So antonyms, justified, reasonable, and systematic. So these are, you have clear reasons for your decisions, they're justified, you have your system that you would follow, they're reasonable. Opposite to arbitrary. And synonyms for arbitrary: capricious, random, whimsical, and haphazard. All of these are just random choices without any clear reason why you're doing it. So that's our word for today, arbitrary. When you make decisions based on just how you feel, or random. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.